I want to share with you some context for my questions, if I could. It's from a Telegraph article from 13 October 2024, and it's titled, Labour Advisor Mark Carney Lobbied Reeves for Heat Pump Subsidies. And just very quickly, it says, former Bank of England Governor Mark Carney lobbied ministers to relax rules on heat pump subsidies to benefit the asset management business he chairs, it has been claimed. Mr. Carney, a Labour advisor who has helped Rachel Reeves with the creation of the National Wealth Fund, raised the idea of changing the cash for heat pump installation scheme with the Chancellor, according to Richard Harpen. And Mr. Harpen is the founder and former chief executive of HomeServe, now its chair. So from a principles-based perspective, do you believe it's ethically sound for someone in Mr. Carney's position, using this example, holding influence in both corporate and in political spheres, to advocate for subsidies that would then directly benefit his company?
What?
You will not be surprised to hear that I have no intention of commenting on whether a particular activity of a particular person was or was not ethically sound, did or did not breach a particular rule. I will focus on the principles that underlie the example that you give, and I will try and draw out some relevant principles.
Thank you.
I think the fundamental issue here is this. It's very important that and as I say, this is genuinely a general point. This is in no way aimed at any particular incident. It's very important that we don't stop public officials who have acquired particular knowledge of particular things from deploying that in the public service. And I think one of the requirements is for people to be able to understand that I may have acquired knowledge in a private capacity. I should not hold back from deploying that knowledge for a public service. And what I have to remember all the time in terms of conflict of interest is I must be using that in the public service and not using it to advance a private interest of mine or of somebody with whom I'm connected. So I think when you take an example, if there's an example of a particular action that has troubled you, I think what you have to do is say to yourself, what am I troubled about? Is it that I think a person was not serving the public and they were acting in a way that would serve themselves? Or is it a little bit more amorphous? Is it just that I think the boundaries may not be clear to observers? We have a principle in Chapter 2 of our Code of Conduct in relation to relevance, which looks at whether a reasonable observer might perceive that you were actuated by a particular interest. And again, in the kind of example that you've raised, I would expect that to be a relevant principles-based factor. Maybe you don't have an interest, but might a reasonable observer be perturbed to think that you might have an interest? Have I helped you at all, despite not answering exactly what you wanted me to?
I think so. Which principles then should guide the use of private sector experience in shaping public policy, as you suggested, and particularly when the individual stands to enjoy a financial benefit? I think that the hypothetical of having someone who has private sector experience and then moving past that, and with that, putting away the potential financial upside of deploying that experience in a way to shape public policy. How do you reconcile a situation where that person enters the public sphere but then continues to enjoy the potential financial upside of making decisions that benefit them personally?
You've got about a minute and 20 seconds, sir, to answer that.
Thank you. That's fine. So I'll give you a specific example of the kind of thing that one can do, and it'll be quite a technical example. Having talked about focused on principle, let me give you an example of something fairly technical one can do to meet exactly the point that you raise. If you look in our guide to the rules relating to the conduct of members, I say this for the benefit of research by clerks after the session, you will see there is a footnote 43 on page 26 that talks about blind trusts. And that is a specific way that we use to ensure that continuing interests of members, ministers, or officials can be hived away so that they don't fall, but that they do not influence their continuing behavior. So blind trust is just one example of the kind of activity one can deploy to ensure that there is a disconnect between having a financial interest and being motivated by it in one's public behavior.